For 30 years, I was a pastor. I preached what I was taught, followed the doctrine, and believed I had the full truth. But everything changed when I discovered the hidden texts, the forbidden knowledge, and the ancient wisdom that was erased from history. The Watchers, the beings who came to teach humanity, weren't fallen. They were silenced. Their knowledge of energy, vibration, and divine connection was buried, locked away, and rewritten to keep us blind. But now, that truth is resurfacing. And in this video, I'm going to reveal exactly what the Watchers taught, why it was banned, and how humanity is finally reclaiming the lost gnosis of the gods. If you're ready to see beyond the illusion, make sure to subscribe and join the channel membership for exclusive deep dives into hidden history, lost scriptures, and the suppressed truths they don't want you to know. Now let's get started. History has been rewritten to keep you from knowing the truth. You have been told that knowledge comes from institutions, that wisdom belongs to religious elites, that enlightenment is something external, a reward for obedience rather than an internal state of being. But long before organized religion reshaped the narrative, there were those who came to awaken humanity, to pass down divine knowledge, to unlock the true potential of the human spirit. These beings were known as the Watchers, and the secrets they shared were so powerful that they were demonized, their legacy erased, their teachings buried beneath layers of distortion. The Book of Enoch, an ancient text once revered but later banned from the Bible, tells the story of these divine messengers. According to Enoch, the Watchers were heavenly beings who descended to earth, not to rule, not to enslave, but to teach. They carried the wisdom of the universe, the knowledge of celestial mechanics, the secrets of energy, vibration, and consciousness. But their greatest crime, according to later religious authorities, was that they shared this knowledge with humans. They awakened people to their own divine power, to their ability to shape reality, to their connection with the source. And for this, they were cast out, labeled as fallen, and condemned. But what if this was not a punishment for wrongdoing, but an attempt to erase a spiritual revolution before it could fully unfold? The Watchers did not corrupt humanity. They elevated it. They taught the secrets of the stars, the hidden codes of the earth, the true nature of the soul. They introduced humans to the reality of gnosis, the direct experience of divine truth. This was not about worshipping gods from above, but about becoming godlike in wisdom, energy, and perception. The Book of Enoch describes how the Watchers shared knowledge of astronomy, healing, metallurgy, sacred sound, and the power of energy manipulation. This was not primitive superstition. This was the same knowledge that fueled the Egyptian mystery schools, the Hermetic traditions, the esoteric sciences of alchemy and vibration. The idea that the universe is a vast network of energy fields, that everything is interconnected, that the mind and spirit can shape reality, this is what they taught. The Nephilim, often described as giants, were not just physical beings. They were the spiritual offspring of this knowledge, beings who possessed both human and divine awareness, who understood the hidden forces of the cosmos. They were not abominations, as later texts claimed. They were the first initiates, the first awakened ones, the first to receive the full gnosis. But this awakening was seen as a threat. If humanity understood its true nature, if people realized they were not meant to be obedient subjects, but sovereign beings, the entire structure of control would collapse. The priesthoods of later civilizations, those who built empires on restriction and blind faith, could not allow this knowledge to spread. And so, the Watchers were condemned. Their wisdom was labeled as forbidden, and their teachings were either destroyed or hidden away in secret texts that only the elite would be allowed to access. The removal of the Book of Enoch from biblical canon was not an accident. It was an act of deliberate censorship. Within its pages were revelations about the nature of reality that would shatter the illusion that divine power exists outside of you. The book does not describe a singular, distant God demanding obedience. It describes a universe teeming with intelligent forces, with beings who interact with humanity not as masters, but as teachers. The church could not afford to have people reading this and asking questions, seeing the connections, realizing that the rigid structures imposed upon them were built on distortion, omission, and control. But the knowledge was never truly lost. It survived in fragments, in whispers, in secret societies, and hidden texts. It was carried forward through esoteric traditions, encoded in ancient symbols, buried within myths that only those with eyes to see could understand. The teachings of the Watchers, the real teachings of divine wisdom and human potential, are still here, waiting for those who are ready to reclaim them. This is not just history. This is a rediscovery of who you are. You were never meant to live in ignorance. You were never meant to believe that enlightenment belongs to a select few. The Watchers came to share the universal truth, that you are divine, that you are connected to the infinite field of creation, that within you exists the power to awaken, to perceive, to shape reality itself. This is why the Book of Enoch was banned. This is why the Watchers were demonized. And this is why you were never told the full story. But now you remember. There was a time when humanity was not meant to be blind. Knowledge was not hidden. And the wisdom of the divine was shared openly with those who were ready to receive it. The Watchers came not as rulers, not as masters, but as teachers. They did not seek worship. They sought to awaken. They brought the gnosis of the gods, the sacred understanding of the universe, the lost science of creation itself. But that knowledge was deemed too powerful. It was labeled as forbidden. It was erased, buried, and locked away, not because it was evil, but because it was the key to humanity's liberation. The Book of Enoch describes how the Watchers descended to Earth and shared knowledge that changed the course of human history. They taught the movements of the stars, the hidden cycles of time, the secrets of energy and vibration. They revealed how sound and frequency could heal, how herbs could restore the body, how metals could be shaped not just into weapons, but into tools of transformation. They introduced humanity to the sacred sciences, alchemy, sacred geometry, divination, and the art of energy manipulation. This was not just practical knowledge. It was a spiritual awakening. The Watchers did not simply show humans how to build and heal. They taught them how to perceive reality beyond the limitations of the physical senses. They opened the doors to higher consciousness, revealing that the material world is only a fraction of what exists. They guided humans to understand that the universe is a field of vibrational energy, shaped by thought, intention, and awareness. The echoes of these teachings still exist. In Egypt, the temple priests studied the movement of celestial bodies, mapping out the energetic patterns that influence consciousness. In India, the sages understood that mantras and sound frequencies could alter reality. The ancient Greeks spoke of the music of the spheres, the harmonic resonance that holds the cosmos together. The Mayans and Druids built structures that aligned with Earth's natural energy grids, amplifying spiritual awareness. This knowledge was universal because it was the original knowledge, the divine wisdom that was meant for all. The Watchers did not teach humanity to be dependent on gods. They taught them to become godlike, to understand their own divine nature, to reclaim their place as co-creators of reality. But those who sought to control humanity could not allow this to continue. Knowledge is power, and a population that understands how to use energy, how to access divine consciousness, how to manifest reality cannot be controlled. The priesthoods of later civilizations, the rulers who built their power on fear and obedience, knew that the only way to rule was to sever humanity from its own potential. The knowledge of the Watchers was declared forbidden. Their teachings were outlawed, their wisdom was twisted into something dangerous, and those who carried their legacy were silenced. The temples that once taught the mysteries of divine energy were shut down, their libraries destroyed. The healers, the astronomers, the alchemists who continued their work were branded as heretics, persecuted, erased from history. What once was sacred became profane. The laws of energy, vibration, and manifestation were turned into superstition. The true nature of divine connection was replaced with doctrine and dogma. People were taught that enlightenment was something external, something given only to a chosen few, rather than something that could be cultivated from within. But the knowledge was never truly lost. It was hidden, encoded in symbols, passed down through secret traditions, waiting for those who would seek it out. The esoteric schools of ancient Egypt, the Hermetic teachings of Greece, the wisdom of the Gnostics, all of them carried pieces of what the Watchers first gave to humanity. The texts that survived, the scrolls that were hidden, the symbols that appear across civilizations, all are remnants of a greater truth that was nearly erased. The teachings of the Watchers were not about control, not about servitude, but about awakening. They did not demand worship. They offered the keys to the universe, and that is why they were silenced. Because a humanity that understands how to use divine knowledge, how to harness frequency, how to step into higher consciousness, is a humanity that cannot be ruled. But the world is changing. The lost wisdom is resurfacing. Science is beginning to confirm what the ancients knew, that everything is energy, that thought shapes reality, that we are not separate from the divine, but part of it. And as humanity begins to remember, the forbidden knowledge will no longer be forbidden. It was never meant to be hidden. It was meant to be lived. And now it is time to reclaim it. The knowledge given to humanity was never meant to be hidden. It was meant to be lived, expanded upon, and shared freely. The Watchers descended not to control, but to guide, not to rule, but to awaken. They carried the gnosis of the gods, the wisdom that could liberate the human mind from ignorance and reveal the true nature of reality. But this knowledge was dangerous, not because it led to destruction, but because it gave humanity the power to break free from control. When the Watchers revealed the mysteries of the cosmos, when they taught humans the secrets of energy, vibration, and divine consciousness, the old systems of control began to crumble. People no longer relied on intermediaries to connect with the divine. They became aware of their own spiritual sovereignty. They learned that they were not powerless beings at the mercy of fate, but creators within the universal field of energy. This knowledge threatened those who built their power on human ignorance. And so, a war over knowledge began. The Book of Enoch tells of the Watchers being cast into the abyss, punished for sharing divine wisdom with humanity. Later, religious interpretations painted them as fallen beings, as corrupt angels who disobeyed divine law. But the real question is, who decided this knowledge was forbidden? Who had the authority to say that humanity should not understand the forces that shape reality? The answer is found in the historical shift that followed. Religious institutions began to centralize power, taking control of knowledge that was once freely shared. The early priesthoods declared themselves the only gatekeepers of divine wisdom. The temples of Egypt, the mystery schools of Mesopotamia, the spiritual initiations of the ancient world, all were either destroyed or absorbed into controlled religious systems. The direct experience of divine energy was replaced with rituals designed not for enlightenment, but for obedience. The burning of the Library of Alexandria was not an accident. The destruction of the Gnostic texts was not a coincidence. The suppression of the Book of Enoch was not a mistake. It was all part of a systematic effort to erase the teachings of the Watchers and replace them with a narrative of control. If the knowledge of the Watchers had remained, humanity would have evolved differently. We would have understood that consciousness affects reality, that energy and vibration can heal, that divinity is not external but woven into the fabric of existence. We would have realized that the universe is not a place of suffering and servitude, but a field of infinite potential, shaped by intention and awareness. But those who sought power needed humanity to forget. They needed people to believe that divine knowledge was dangerous, that questioning was sinful, that enlightenment was only for a chosen few. The Watchers were turned into villains, their teachings labeled as sorcery, their wisdom reduced to myth. Yet, the truth has never been fully erased. It has survived in symbols, in hidden texts, in whispers across generations. The principles the Watchers taught, the power of sacred sound, the nature of the soul, the reality of multidimensional existence still exist, encoded in esoteric traditions that have persisted despite centuries of suppression. The war over knowledge was never about morality. It was about power. It was about ensuring that humanity remained asleep, disconnected from its divine potential. But now, that war is reaching its final phase. The knowledge is resurfacing, science is beginning to validate what the ancients knew, and people are waking up to the realization that they were never meant to be blind. The Watchers were not destroyers. They were illuminators, bearers of wisdom, guides to those who were ready to see. Their knowledge was suppressed, not because it was evil, but because it was liberating. And now, as humanity begins to reclaim its lost spiritual heritage, the suppression of their teachings is failing. The question is no longer why the knowledge was hidden. The question is, what will you do with it now that it is returning? You have been told that the serpent in the Garden of Eden was a deceiver, that it led humanity into sin and separation from God. You have been conditioned to believe that eating from the tree of knowledge was a mistake, an act of disobedience that cursed mankind for eternity. But what if this was never the true story? What if the serpent, like the Watchers, was not a tempter, but a liberator? What if the fall was not a descent into corruption, but an ascension into awareness? The tree of knowledge was not just a metaphor for good and evil. It was a symbol of gnosis, divine wisdom, the understanding of energy, consciousness, and the true nature of reality. The serpent, far from being an enemy of humanity, was an initiator, a guide to enlightenment, revealing what had been hidden from human perception. Just as the Watchers shared celestial and spiritual knowledge with humanity, the serpent in Eden offered the key to awakening, the ability to perceive beyond illusion. This is why the story of the Watchers and the story of the serpent are deeply connected. The Book of Enoch describes the Watchers giving humanity sacred knowledge, teaching the secrets of the stars, energy, healing, and manifestation. Likewise, the serpent in the garden gave Adam and Eve access to self-awareness, the ability to discern, the knowledge of their own divine nature. But in both stories, this enlightenment was declared forbidden. Religious authorities turned these figures into villains because knowledge is power. A humanity that understands divine energy, the interconnected nature of the universe, and its own role as a co-creator is a humanity that cannot be controlled. The moment Adam and Eve ate the fruit, their eyes were opened. They were no longer passive beings, but conscious, aware, capable of perceiving truth. This mirrors the ancient concept of Kundalini energy, the serpent-like force that lies dormant at the base of the spine, waiting to be awakened. In spiritual traditions across the world, the serpent is a symbol of enlightenment, transformation, and divine power. It is found in the Egyptian Uraeus, the Hindu Naga, the Mesoamerican Quetzalcoatl, all representations of wisdom, not deception. The fall of man was not a punishment. It was the beginning of awareness, the first step toward realizing that the divine is not external, but within. The Watchers, like the serpent, sought to lift the veil, to show humanity its potential, to reveal that the kingdom of heaven is not in some distant realm, but accessible through conscious awakening. This is why both were condemned, why their stories were rewritten, why you were taught to fear them rather than seek the truth they offered. If the fall of man was truly about sin, then why does every spiritual tradition, outside of dogmatic religion, teach that enlightenment comes from knowledge, not ignorance? Why do ancient mystery schools, esoteric teachings, and even the lost texts of early Christianity emphasize self-discovery, inner alchemy, and spiritual awakening? Because the truth was never about punishment, it was about liberation. Humanity was never meant to be trapped in darkness. The Watchers, like the serpent, came to awaken, not deceive. And now, as the hidden knowledge begins to return, the real question is, will you continue to believe the version of history that was designed to keep you powerless, or will you embrace the truth that has been waiting for you all along? The Watchers did not come to enslave humanity. They came to awaken it. The knowledge they shared was not dangerous in itself. What made it forbidden was the fact that it gave humanity the ability to connect directly to the divine. The rulers of the world could not allow this. The priesthoods, the religious authorities, and those who thrived on control needed humanity to be dependent on intermediaries, blind to their own power. That is why the teachings of the Watchers were erased, demonized, and hidden. But their wisdom was never truly lost. It was passed down in secret, carried through ancient mystery schools, encoded in symbols, and preserved in esoteric traditions. Now, as humanity begins to remember, the veil is lifting once again. The Watchers were not destroyers. They were illuminators, bearers of wisdom, guides to those who were ready to see. Their knowledge was suppressed not because it was evil, but because it was liberating. And now, as humanity begins to reclaim its lost spiritual heritage, the suppression of their teachings is failing. The question is no longer why the knowledge was hidden. The question is, what will you do with it now that it is returning? You have been told that the serpent in the Garden of Eden was a deceiver, that it led humanity into sin and separation from God. You have been conditioned to believe that eating from the tree of knowledge was a mistake, an act of disobedience that cursed mankind for eternity. But what if this was never the true story? What if the serpent, like the Watchers, was not a tempter, but a liberator? What if the fall was not a descent into corruption, but an ascension into awareness? The tree of knowledge was not just a metaphor for good and evil. It was a symbol of gnosis, divine wisdom, the understanding of energy, consciousness, and the true nature of reality. The serpent, far from being an enemy of humanity, was an initiator, a guide to enlightenment, revealing what had been hidden from human perception. Just as the Watchers shared celestial and spiritual knowledge with humanity, the serpent in Eden offered the key to awakening. the ability to perceive beyond illusion. This is why the story of the Watchers and the story of the serpent are deeply connected. The Book of Enoch describes the Watchers giving humanity sacred knowledge, teaching the secrets of the stars, energy, healing, and manifestation. Likewise, the serpent in the garden gave Adam and Eve access to self-awareness, the ability to discern, the knowledge of their own divine nature. But in both stories, this enlightenment was declared forbidden. Religious authorities turned these figures into villains because knowledge is power. A humanity that understands divine energy, the interconnected nature of the universe, and its own role as a co-creator is a humanity that cannot be controlled. The moment Adam and Eve ate the fruit, their eyes were opened. They were no longer passive beings, but conscious, aware, capable of perceiving truth. This mirrors the ancient concept of Kundalini energy, the serpent-like force that lies dormant at the base of the spine, waiting to be awakened. In spiritual traditions across the world, the serpent is a symbol of enlightenment, transformation, and divine power. It is found in the Egyptian Uraeus, the Hindu Naga, the Mesoamerican Quetzalcoatl, all representations of wisdom, not deception. The fall of man was not a punishment. It was the beginning of awareness, the first step toward realizing that the divine is not external, but within. The Watchers, like the serpent, sought to lift the veil, to show humanity its potential, to reveal that the kingdom of heaven is not in some distant realm, but accessible through conscious awakening. This is why both were condemned, why their stories were rewritten, why you were taught to fear them rather than seek the truth they offered. If the fall of man was truly about sin, then why does every spiritual tradition outside of dogmatic religion teach that enlightenment comes from knowledge, not ignorance? Why do ancient mystery schools, esoteric teachings, and even the lost texts of early Christianity emphasize self-discovery, inner alchemy, and spiritual awakening? Because the truth was never about punishment. It was about liberation. Humanity was never meant to be trapped in darkness. The Watchers, like the serpent, came to awaken, not deceive. And now, as the hidden knowledge begins to return, the real question is, will you continue to believe the version of history that was designed to keep you powerless, or will you embrace the truth that has been waiting for you all along? The Watchers did not come to enslave humanity. They came to awaken it. The knowledge they shared was not dangerous in itself. What made it forbidden was the fact that it gave humanity the ability to connect directly to the divine. The rulers of the world could not allow this. The priesthoods, the religious authorities, and those who thrived on control needed humanity to be dependent on intermediaries, blind to their own power. That is why the teachings of the Watchers were erased, demonized, and hidden. But their wisdom was never truly lost. It was passed down in secret, carried through ancient mystery schools, encoded in symbols, and preserved in esoteric traditions. Now, as humanity begins to remember, the veil is lifting once again. Gnosis is not belief. It is not faith in a doctrine or submission to religious authority. Gnosis is direct experience of divine truth. It is the realization that the universe is not an external machine, but a field of conscious energy. It is the understanding that humanity is not separate from the divine, but a part of it. This is the core of what the Watchers sought to teach. One of their greatest revelations was the power of sound and vibration. In the ancient world, it was understood that reality itself is shaped by frequency. The chants of priests, the mantras of yogis, the hymns of early mystics, all were tools to align with the higher harmonics of creation. The Book of Enoch describes the Watchers teaching humans how to harness sound, just as the builders of megalithic temples and pyramids used resonance to amplify energy. This knowledge has survived in sacred geometry, cymatics, and the lost science of sound healing. The Watchers also taught the sacred mathematics of creation. The Sumerians, Egyptians, and Greeks all understood that numbers were not just symbols, but the language of the universe. The golden ratio, the Fibonacci sequence, and the geometric patterns found in nature all point to a hidden order within existence. This is why ancient temples, pyramids, and cathedrals were built with such precision, because they were designed to amplify energy, acting as gateways between the physical and the divine. Another critical teaching was astral knowledge. The Watchers revealed the hidden connections between celestial movements and human consciousness. This was not simple astrology. It was a system of understanding how cosmic rhythms influence the mind, body, and soul. The ancient Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, comes from this understanding. The idea that planets, stars, and celestial alignments can influence human energy is now being rediscovered through quantum physics and the study of the human biofield. But the most important lesson the Watchers gave was the realization that divinity is not external, it is within. They did not seek to create a system of worship, but rather a path to spiritual mastery. The goal was not servitude, but sovereignty. They wanted humanity to understand that every person is a fractal of the divine, a spark of the infinite source. This is why the true knowledge of the Watchers survived. Despite the efforts to erase it, it was passed down in the mystery schools of Egypt, the esoteric traditions of the Gnostics, the teachings of the Druids, the lost wisdom of the alchemists. It exists in the symbols of sacred geometry, the mantras of enlightenment, the energy practices of ancient civilizations. The Watchers were not corruptors, they were guides. Their teachings were not meant to enslave, but to liberate. And now, as humanity begins to rediscover the hidden gnosis, the question is no longer whether the knowledge exists, but whether you are ready to reclaim it. The Watchers shared knowledge that could transform humanity. Their teachings on energy, vibration, consciousness, and divine connection revealed the hidden mechanics of the universe and the true nature of the human soul. But this knowledge was not just erased from mainstream history. It was deliberately hidden, locked away, and kept from the masses. While the public was taught to fear the wisdom of the Watchers, powerful institutions quietly preserved it, ensuring that only the elite had access to these secrets. The Vatican, one of the most powerful religious institutions in history, holds the largest and most secretive collection of ancient texts in the world. Beneath the Vatican Library lies a vast archive stretching over 50 miles of bookshelves filled with documents that have never been seen by the public. Many of these texts predate Christianity itself, containing knowledge that was banned, rewritten, or declared heretical. Among them are rumored to be missing books of the Bible, lost Gospels, and ancient spiritual teachings that reveal the truth about the Watchers, the nature of divine energy, and humanity's hidden potential. Why would the Vatican hoard these texts while teaching a doctrine that denies their validity? Because knowledge is power. The more people understand about themselves, the universe, and their ability to connect directly with the divine, the less control religious authorities have over them. By suppressing the full truth, they ensure that people remain dependent on external institutions for spiritual guidance rather than seeking enlightenment within. Among the documents believed to be hidden in the Vatican archives are the complete versions of the Book of Enoch, ancient Gnostic scriptures, and pre-Christian texts from Mesopotamia, Egypt, and beyond. These writings contain knowledge of the celestial sciences, the laws of energy, the power of sacred sound, and the ability to awaken higher consciousness. If these texts were openly available, they would completely rewrite humanity's understanding of spirituality and the divine. There is also strong evidence that the early church actively sought to erase all traces of the Watchers' teachings. The Council of Nicaea, which established the foundation of modern Christianity in 325 AD, removed entire books from the Bible, banned esoteric teachings, and labeled ancient wisdom as heresy. The Gnostic texts, which emphasized personal spiritual awakening rather than institutional control, were hunted down and destroyed. Those who sought to preserve the teachings of the Watchers, the alchemists, the mystics, the initiates of secret traditions, were either executed or forced into secrecy. Yet fragments of this knowledge have survived. The Dead Sea Scrolls, discovered in 1947, contained ancient writings that referenced the Watchers, their teachings, and their influence on early humanity. These scrolls, hidden for centuries, revealed an entirely different perspective on biblical history, one where humanity was not meant to be subservient, but awakened. Even more revealing is the Nag Hammadi Library, a collection of Gnostic texts found in Egypt, which spoke of divine knowledge, multidimensional reality, and the ability to transcend physical limitations. If the Watchers were truly fallen, as religious authorities claim, why were their teachings not just condemned, but actively hidden? Why were these texts not simply dismissed, but locked away in secret vaults, kept from the eyes of the world? Because the institutions that hold these records understand something most people do not. The teachings of the Watchers hold the key to spiritual sovereignty. The Vatican's greatest secret is not that it believes in the Watchers, it is that it knows the Watchers were right. The lost books, the hidden texts, the forbidden knowledge all point to the same conclusion. Humanity was never meant to be dependent on religious authority. The Watchers came to teach that divine connection is not mediated by priests, churches, or temples. It is found within. This is why the mystery schools of ancient Egypt, the esoteric traditions of the Kabbalists, and the teachings of early Christianity all carried remnants of the same knowledge. They all spoke of the inner light, the divine spark, the realization that consciousness itself is the gateway to the divine. But now, the truth is beginning to resurface. The world is awakening, and hidden knowledge is coming to light. The Vatican can no longer contain the secrets it has locked away. The texts that were once banned are being rediscovered. The symbols that once guided initiates are being understood again, and humanity is starting to remember the knowledge that was never meant to be forgotten. The teachings of the Watchers did not die. They were buried, waiting for the right time to be revealed again. That time is now. For thousands of years, the knowledge of the Watchers was buried, their wisdom erased, their teachings labeled as forbidden. The institutions of power worked tirelessly to suppress the truth, that humanity is not meant to live in ignorance, that divine connection is not reserved for a chosen few, and that the universe is not a cold, lifeless machine, but a vast energetic field shaped by consciousness. But now, as the world enters a new era, the lost gnosis of the gods is resurfacing. Humanity is beginning to remember. Modern science is starting to confirm what the ancients already knew. Quantum physics has proven that reality is not fixed, that observation affects the material world, that everything is energy vibrating at different frequencies. This is the very same knowledge the Watchers shared, the ability to harness sound, vibration, and intention to shape existence itself. The double-slit experiment showed that particles exist in multiple states until observed, proving that consciousness interacts with matter. The discovery of biophotons in DNA suggests that the human body itself is a light-based system, capable of transmitting and receiving energetic information. Ancient wisdom is no longer being dismissed as myth. The sacred geometry found in nature, from the spirals of galaxies to the patterns of flowers, aligns perfectly with the mathematical codes used in spiritual traditions. Cymatics, the study of how sound creates form, reveals that mantras, prayers, and chants are not just symbolic. They are vibrational tools that align human energy with the greater cosmic field. The energy healing techniques once banned and ridiculed, such as Reiki, Qigong, and vibrational medicine, are now being scientifically validated. The control systems that sought to suppress this knowledge are beginning to lose their grip. More people than ever before are questioning mainstream narratives, seeking higher truths, and rediscovering the real purpose of existence. The rigid structures of organized religion, which for centuries kept people spiritually dependent, are now being exposed as artificial constructs. The texts that were hidden, the knowledge that was buried, the symbols that were misinterpreted, all of it is coming back into the light. The rediscovery of ancient texts, like the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Nag Hammadi Library, has given humanity direct access to spiritual teachings that were once hidden. These texts, written by early mystics and Gnostics, describe a reality where the divine is not a distant ruler, but a force that flows through all things. The Gnostics, like the Watchers before them, understood that the true path to enlightenment is not through obedience, but through direct experience of divine energy. This is why ancient practices, such as meditation, breathwork, and sound healing, are making a resurgence. The same techniques that were once used in mystery schools, Egyptian temples, and monastic traditions are now being rediscovered as humanity begins to unlock the deeper layers of consciousness. The wisdom of the past is proving to be the key to the future. The Watchers' teachings were never meant to be lost forever. They were meant to be remembered at the right time, and that time is now. The signs are everywhere. Science is validating spiritual wisdom. Ancient texts are resurfacing, and people around the world are waking up to the realization that they are not separate from the divine, but an expression of it. The gnosis of the gods, the knowledge that consciousness shapes reality, that vibration is the key to creation, that divinity exists within, was never truly erased. It was only waiting for humanity to be ready to reclaim it. Now the choice is yours. Will you continue to live under the